Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning, good morning. Dean Kulaweera here, your friend, and shout out to everyone on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter tuning in. I know it's been a bit of a hiatus. I haven't been doing the live streams for the past couple of weeks. Apologies for that, but I'm back into it. Back here to help you folks out in your job search with job search tips, advice, strategies, tactics, anything related to your overall job search strategy, interviews, resume tips, the whole gamut, folks. All right, I'm here to help you out. So make sure you mark your calendars every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. That's when I go live right here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Right, and again, shout out to everyone on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter tuning in. And look, I hope everybody's been doing great. What I'm going to be talking about today is the topic of your job search battle plan. Do you have a battle plan? What is a job search battle plan? Do you have one? Do you have a strategy in place that's going to help you get ahead in your job search, or get you results, get you in front of the right people, get you in communication with the right people, increase your chances of getting interviews? This is very important, folks, right? Like, job searching is not some random thing. And it's definitely not simply, going on LinkedIn or going on Monster, applying to a couple of jobs, and then, patting yourself on the back and calling it a day, right? A lot of people out there are doing that, not getting results, not seeing results. And it's because the job search and a job search strategy, it's much more, it's much broader than that. And it's more strategic, right? It's very strategic kind of a process. We got in the comments here, we got Bikash in the house. Bikash says, hi, Dean, how you doing? Good to see you live. Hey, Bikash, I'm doing great. Thank you, my friend. And good to see you here as well. Appreciate your comment. Philip, we got my friend Philip Awala in the house. Hi, Dean, good to be here. Philip, good to have you here, my friend. Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate your comment. Hope you get a lot of value out of today's segment. So yeah, folks, keep putting in the comments, and feel free to introduce yourself in the comments, just like Bikash and Philip have. Great opportunity to make new friends, network with each other, right? Build out your own community over here. And before we get into today's segment, also a quick heads up. I recruit in IT, so if you're an IT professional here in Toronto, Canada, or anywhere in Canada for that matter, make sure you reach out to me with an introduction. I'm happy to see if there's any way I can assist you. Right now, I'm mostly recruiting on a lot of software developer related positions, ranging from the intermediate level and up. All right. So if you got 3+ years of professional work experience, I don't care if it's Canadian experience or outside of Canadian experience, it doesn't matter. If you're a software developer, you got at least 3+ years of professional experience and you're here in Canada, definitely connect with me. Send me an introduction, a message, and I'm happy to see if there's any way I can assist you. All right. And make sure you like, comment, and share today's segment, folks. If today's segment would be of assistance to anyone in your network, I'm going to be talking about building out your job search battle plan. Feel free to reshare this with your network as well. Now, if you want to follow me on my other social channels, all my social links are at this website right here, my Linktree page. So you can check out those links at linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter, linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. I'm also active on, obviously I'm active on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, but also I'm active on Instagram, TikTok. Where else? Also got a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. What's the other one? Spotify and Anchor.fm. So if you're more of an audio person, all those links are down here at this link as well. All right. So check me out on there. Make sure on LinkedIn to subscribe to my LinkedIn newsletter. I release a weekly new edition every week. Typically on Mondays, sometimes on Tuesdays if I'm too busy on Mondays. But appreciate everyone who has so far subscribed to my newsletter. I talk about a recruitment topic and a job search topic as well. So it's whether you're an organization, maybe you're a hiring manager, you're an internal recruitment, part of the internal recruitment team or recruitment strategy at an organization. I always share something recruitment related in the newsletter. And also for the job seekers out there, I'll always share something job search related as well in my newsletter. So if you want to check that out, just go to my LinkedIn profile, and it should be in the feed. There should be a link in the featured section. All right, there's going to be a featured section. Check out those links, or just go to my link tree page, which I shared earlier as well. All right. Today's segment is sponsored by Tech Recruiters 360, which is my recruitment business. Look, if you're an IT professional in Canada, you're an organization searching for tech talent anywhere in Canada, make sure you reach out to me for more information on how I can help. I've recruited across the board for IT. Whatever skill sets you're looking for, feel free to drop me an email. Right, my email address is down there, dean@techrecruiters360.com. Now, some of you have been sending me emails, and some of your emails are ending up in my spam folder, and I don't always remember to check my spam folder every day, folks. If you don't get a response, maybe your email has ended up in my spam folder. So just reaching out to me on LinkedIn is probably the best way. All right, so reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have not received a response from me. All right, so I appreciate everyone tuning in, and definitely happy to see if there's any way I can help your organization, or if you're an IT professional, any way I can help you and assist you in your job search. This segment is also sponsored by DK Global Talent, which is my coaching and training business. I've developed a course called Applying to Jobs Online 101, where I teach a 3-step process on how you can increase responses to your job applications by up to 20%. Some of the people who have taken my course have experienced even more so of a response rate improvement in their their job search process as well. So for more information about that, and for testimonials from people who have taken the course, feel free to check out dkglobaltalent.com/get responses, dkglobaltalent.com/get responses. Now, before I get into today's segment, I just wanted to quickly share for my fellow Canadians out there, I wanted to share with you the results of Statistics Canada. They just released their labor force survey June 2022 highlights. All right, so I'm just going to share with you folks some of the highlights here. Now, if you want to check out the full report, you can check this out on the Statistics Canada website. And their website is statcan.gc.ca. Again, these are Canadian labor force statistics. So if you want to check that out, again, their website is statcan.gc.ca. I'm just going to read to you the highlights from the June 2022 labor force survey. All right, these are the highlights. So it says employment falls in June. Employment fell by 43,000, which is negative 0.2% in June, fully offsetting the increase of 40,000 recorded in May. The number of self-employed workers fell by 59,000, which is a negative 2.2%, while the number of employees held steady in both the public and private sectors. Employment was down among workers aged 55 and over, so minus 51,000, or minus a negative 1.2%. It was little changed among youth aged 15 to 24 and the core age population aged 25 to 54. So that's kind of remained the same in that age group. Employment decreased in Newfoundland and Labrador and Quebec, while there were gains in Prince Edward Island and Manitoba. Employment in the services producing sector declined by 76,000, which is negative 0.5% in June, with losses spread across several industries, including retail trade. In the goods producing sector, employment rose by 33,000, or plus 0.8% in June, with gains in construction and manufacturing. Pretty interesting. Total hours worked increased 1.3% in June. Average hourly wages rose 5.2%, or plus $1.54 to $31.24 per hour on average on a year-over-year basis in June, up from 3.9% in May. Unemployment rate reaches 4th consecutive record low. The unemployment rate reached a new low of 4.9% in June, and the participation rate fell 0.4 percentage points to 64.9%. The adjusted unemployment rate, which includes people who are not in the labor force but wanted to work, decreased 0.2 percentage points to 6.8% in June, the second consecutive record low. Long-term unemployment stood at 185,000 in June. So those are just the highlights, folks. If you want to check out the full report, again, go to the Statistics Canada website, which is statcan.gc.ca, all right, for the full report. But overall, it looks like employment declines for the first time since January of 2022. All right, so I just wanted to share with you folks those highlights. So getting into today's topic, I'm going to be talking about your job search battle plan. Do you have a job search battle plan, folks? right? Let me just quickly look at the comments here. We got Alexis Bird in the house who says, "Hey, Dean, how are you? Ready to learn and grow?" Thanks so much for tuning in, Alexis. Appreciate you tuning in and hope you're able to get great information out of today's segment. We got Sri Lakshmi in the house. Hi, Dean. Sri here. I'm a tech recruiter based out of Toronto. Good to see such an informative content. Hey, awesome. Always good to see fellow tech recruiters. Thanks so much for tuning in, Sri, and hope you get good information out of today's segment. We got Jinkle in the house as well. Hi, Dean. Ready to learn and grow? Awesome. Good to have you here, Jinkle. Thanks so much for tuning in. And we got Gabriella in the house as well, who gives a thumbs up. How about I give you 2 thumbs up, Gabriella, for tuning in? All right, I appreciate you tuning in, and thanks so much for your comment. So, your job search battle plan, folks. What is your job search battle plan? Do you have one? Okay, because there's a lot more to job searching, folks, than just going on Indeed or Monster or LinkedIn, applying to a couple of jobs and be like, okay, that's my job search for today. It's a strategy, all right? The job search is a strategy. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you've heard me say this over and over again, like a broken record, over and over again. Some of you might be bored with me saying this. You're like, Dean, you always keep saying this, but it's true. Job searching is not a task. It's not one single task or a couple of tasks that you just complete and do, and that's it. It's a strategy, folks. Like it's a strategy. Just like you got business strategy, you got marketing strategy, you got sales strategy, you got political strategy, you got war, and those strategies. It's the same thing with your job search. It requires a strategy. It is not something random. You just apply to a whole bunch of jobs and wait for a response and hope for the best. No, you have to have a strategy in place. So I want to share with you a few tips on how you can develop an effective job search battle plan, right? I like to call it a battle plan because look, the reality for a lot of job seekers is job searching is like a war. It is a war zone out there, folks. It's a highly populated battlefield. You're competing against other people for the same opportunities. Companies are looking for a certain skill sets and requirements which you may or may not have. You want to highlight your potential. You want to highlight your ability. You want to showcase that, hey, you're passionate about this organization. You want to work for this organization, but at the same time, you've got like 250 other applicants applying for the same job. So it is a battle. It is a war. All right. So you got to have a job search battle plan in place. So tip number 1 is, and this is extremely important. By the way, you got to be taking notes for this segment. All right. If you're a job seeker, I want you taking notes because this is how you're going to help formulate your own battle plan. So tip number 1 is very, very important is, what is your target? Right now, don't get distracted by the fact that this seems like such a simple point, but this is so important. What is your target, folks? You got to get clear on your target. And this is something I see from so many people, because I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn from people, obviously messaging me and introducing themselves. and because I recruit in IT, so I get people messaging me and they're like, hey, Dean, I'm looking for opportunities in IT. So, hey, let me know if you have any job opportunities in IT. And that's it. Okay, well, IT is extremely, extremely broad, folks. Like, what are we looking for here? Are we looking for software development roles? Are you looking for business analyst roles? Is it project management roles? Is it data analyst roles? Is it systems administrator role? Like, it's so broad. IT is so broad. And then I asked for clarification. I'm like, okay, what kind of opportunities within IT are you looking for? Oh, Dean, I'm open to anything. I'm open to anything. I'm flexible. I can do software development. I can do this. I can do that. I can do backflips. I can do Cirque du Soleil stuff. Like, folks, there's no specific. Like, many of you, I would, maybe not many of you, but I would say some of you are just not clearly communicating what it is you're looking for. Now, maybe there's many reasons for that, but for me, it communicates a lack of target. You don't have a target. You don't know specifically what you're looking for. So you have to be very specific about what it is you're looking for. Because look, if you simply say, hey, I'm looking for work in IT, I don't have to tell you folks. Those of you in IT know IT is extremely broad. And when you send out messages saying, hey, I'm looking for work in IT, that tells me nothing. It tells me zero. And don't assume the recruiter is going to go check out your LinkedIn profile to figure out what it is you're looking for and what your skill sets are, what your background is. Recruiters are constantly communicating with people, right? We're constantly on the phone, or we're coordinating things through email. We're responding to or conducting searches on LinkedIn, Indeed, or the internal ATS system that we use. We don't have time for this investigative stuff, folks. All right, you got to be clear and clearly communicate what you're looking for. So tip number 1, as part of your job search battle plan, is you got to be clear on your target. Remember, clarity leads to confidence. Clarity leads to confidence. You got to write that down if you're taking notes. So be specific about what it is you want. Do not aim for multiple positions, right? Don't say, oh, I'm open to software developer positions, and I'm open to data analyst positions, and I'm open to business analyst positions, and I'm open to systems administrator, and I'm open to, everything on the face of the earth. No, bad strategy, folks. That is not helping you. Now, I know why a lot of you are doing this, because from your perspective, you want to communicate that you're flexible, you're open to learning new things, that you're a multifaceted, human being. You got a whole bunch of knowledge that you bring to the table. I get that. From your perspective, I understand why a lot of you are saying this, right? That you're open to anything. But from the recruiter's perspective, from the hiring manager's perspective, from the hiring team's perspective, you're coming across as someone who is uncertain about what direction you want to take in your career, right? So you got to look at things from the other person's perspective, from the recruiter's perspective, as well as from the hiring team's perspective. You got to be laser focused on what it is you're aiming for. Now, exception. There are some roles out there where it makes sense to have a blended skill set. For example, I recruited on roles that are a blend of project management and business analysis, right? A PM/BA. I recruited on roles where it's, a variety of different of these combinations that make sense, right? So if that's the case, that's a different story. Then that completely makes sense. But outside of that, you should not be saying that you're open to multiple types of positions, because again, it communicates a lack of clarity, that you're not sure which direction you want to take. And the concern of the recruiter is, hey, I'm gonna submit this person for a software developer role, but what if they're more interested in data analyst roles or systems administrator roles or whatever, 5 other roles that they're also interested in, and then my client's time, the hiring team's time is going to be completely wasted, because you've submitted yourself for a role, but your true interest lies in some other position. That's what the recruiter is thinking, right? Because they don't want to waste their time either. So get very, very clear about what it is you want. And the more clear you are, the more you're going to find you're more confident in your job search as well, right? Like being open to anything and everything. This is how a lot of you end up in jobs that you hate, right? Because you're like, oh yeah, I'm open to anything. I'm flexible. I'm open to anything, any kind of position out there. Then you end up working for some company with a manager who's like a complete a-hole, or an organization that's nowhere near the kind of ideal organization you want to work for. And you're doing work that's not helping you expand, that's not helping you, keeping you challenged, that's not helping you learn new things, and you wonder why you're burnt out, and you just hate where you work. So the first important thing, folks, get extremely clear on what your target is. What are you aiming for? What kind of position are you aiming for? Right? You got to get really clear on that. And again, narrow it down to one specific type of position. Right now, and again, the exception is there might be roles out there that are blended, right? PM/BA roles. And other examples, I can't think of any other examples right now, because that is probably the most frequent blended role that I've worked on or recruited on is, PM/BA roles. But there's other examples out there of blended roles where it doesn't make sense to highlight, kind of different skill sets. So just keep that in mind. That is extremely, extremely important. So that is tip number 1. Get really clear on your target. Tip number 2, this is more of a mindset shift. Okay, we're talking about some mental game here, some mindset shifts here. You got to treat your job search. You got to think of your job search like it is a job in and of itself, because it is, right? Your job search is not like I mentioned before, it's not some random set of tasks. It is a strategy. And the job search itself, you got to think of it. You got to treat it like it's a job in and of itself, because it is. Especially if you're unemployed, you got to treat your job search and plan out your day hour by hour as if it is a job, right? That's how I want you to start thinking of your job search. It is a job, folks. Put it in your calendar, right? Map out your what you're going to be doing hour by hour. That's going to contribute to your job search, and that's the way you got to be thinking about your job search. It is a job because it's time consuming. It takes energy. It takes effort. It takes follow up, and you got to have a plan in place, right? So if you're not currently planning out your day, like you're not, you don't have a plan. You don't know what you're going to be doing from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. You got your lunch break, then 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., right? For those of you unemployed, you have more time on your hands. So you got to be planning out your job search like it is a job. So what are you going to be doing from 9 a.m., from 10 a.m., from 11 a.m.? Like you got to plan out and map these things out, folks, right? Now, if you want a sample schedule of what you should be doing hour by hour, go to my LinkedIn profile after today's segment. And it was not my LinkedIn article from this week, but it was from the prior LinkedIn article. And check it out, because I share a sample job search hour by hour kind of battle plan or schedule that you can use And it's not something setting that's setting concrete, like concrete in cement, right? Like this is something that yeah, I just wanted to show as an example in terms of adding some variety into your schedule. But the point is, you got to have a schedule in place. You got to have a calendar in place, and you got to make sure that you're doing this so that you're you have a plan, you have a plan in place, and you know exactly what you're going to be doing hour by hour, right? Because if you're not doing that, you're going to be approaching your job search randomly. It's not going to be a specific process or a strategy in place. You got to plan it out. You got to plan it out. You got to map it out. So again, check out go to my LinkedIn articles page. So if you go to my LinkedIn profile, go down to the featured section, click on this week's article, and then click on I think it's close to the top or close to the bottom of the article. There should be a link to view all my articles. Just go to the one prior to this week, right? So the article prior to this week, and there's a sample schedule that you folks can check out where I kind of give you an example of how you could be mapping out your day. All right, because look, you know the saying, folks, right? Fail to plan and you plan to fail. I know it sounds very cliche. I know it sounds very, it's like one of those, just another one of those fancy phrases, but it's so true. Fail to plan and you plan to fail, folks. All right, so make sure you remember this. So that is tip number 2 for creating your job search battle plan. Tip number 3, right? Tip number 3, let's assess the battle. We got to assess the battlefield, folks. All right. Identify your ideal employers. Like these are the organizations you want to get yourself in front of. Actually, before I get into it, let me check out the comments. I see that we got some comments here. We got someone says, "Hey Dean, thanks for all the information you put out." No problem. My absolute pleasure. Appreciate you putting that comment in there. We got some questions here, so I'm gonna get to your questions after I get through today's segment, folks. So Mohammed says, "I'm not searching jobs, but I like your content." Hey, I appreciate that, Mohammed. Oh, good to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Tarun Taneja says, "Always informative, Dean." Hey, I appreciate that, Tarun. Thanks so much for your feedback. And we got a thumbs up from S. Kanki Putty. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly, but thanks so much. 2 thumbs up for you, my friend. Thanks so much for tuning in. So I'm going to get to your questions in the comments shortly, folks. By the way, if you have any questions about this or what I'm talking about right now, feel free to start putting them in the comments, because after I finish talking about today's tips, I'm going to get into the open Q&A where I'm going to respond to every question in the comments. All right. So start putting your questions in the comments. I'm not ignoring them. I'm going to get to them shortly. All right. So moving on to tip number 3, we got to identify your ideal employers. Okay. This is extremely important. And this is how you gain a greater sense of control over your job search, folks. All right. Because look, I know a lot of you might be feeling like, you don't have control over everything. It's like you're just applying to jobs, waiting for a response. You're not feeling any control over your whole job search battle plan, right? So tip number 3 is you got to identify your ideal employers. Now, who are some companies out there that you are extremely motivated and interested, excited about, that you want to potentially work for? Right? What's your ideal opportunity, right? Actually, you should be writing this down. What does your ideal dream scenario, dream opportunity, what does it look like? Because if you're not clear on that, it's going to be much more difficult for you to assess and qualify the opportunities out there, right? If you're not clear about what you want, you're going to be you're going to 100% purely fall into what some other organization or some individual wants from you, right? The ideal situation, folks, is that you have what you want, the organization has what they want, and there's like this overlap, right? There's this overlap between what you want, what they want. That's the ideal situation, right? So you got to get really clear on what does the ideal opportunity look like? What is the ideal team that I want to be a part of? What does it look like? What does the ideal employer overall look like? What industries am I most excited about? What kind of projects am I most excited about? What would my dream manager that I report to, what would they be like? What would their personality be like? How would they be coaching me? How would they be mentoring me? What kind of challenges would they be putting in my way? Positive challenges. What kind of growth opportunities would exist in the organization I want to work for? Now, folks, I'm not saying this dream company, this dream situation, I'm not saying it exists out there, because chances are it doesn't exist, right? No organization is perfect. No manager is perfect. No team is perfect. No project is going to go perfectly smooth. Like there's going to be a whole bunch of negative aspects and things that are kind of not entirely positive. But the point is, you need to have a set of criteria. You have to have a list of criteria. You have to have something that you can actually compare to, right? So you can hold it up here and be like, okay, I interviewed with this company, I checked out this company, I researched this company. How does this organization, how does this hiring manager, how does this opportunity overall, How does this compare to my list of criteria, my list of requirements that I'm looking for in a dream organization? So now at least you have something to check mark, right? You can check mark, okay, it's got this, it's got this, it got this. Okay, it doesn't have this, fine, I'm okay with that, but it's got this, it got this, it got this, right? At least you can now make an assessment of whether this is an opportunity you want to further pursue, or maybe even accept that offer letter, right? A lot of you end up in jobs that, again, you don't like, you hate, that are not ideal, terrible team, terrible hiring manager. They overwork you, they underwork you, they give you too much challenges, they don't give you enough challenges, because you're not getting really clear about what your ideal scenario looks like. So you got to identify, what does your ideal scenario, your ideal employer, your ideal situation, what does that look like? And again, it doesn't mean the ideal situation is out there, folks. I can tell you right now, the ideal dream employer probably doesn't exist. But at least if you have a list of criteria, a list of criterion that you can refer to, at least now you have something that almost acts like a measuring stick, right? So that when you go for interviews, when you meet with these companies, you talk to them, or whatever the case is, at least you have something you can now compare to, right? And you can be like, okay, it's got a whole bunch of check marks. There's a few things that are not ideal, but hey, that's where you got to decide. Those things that are not ideal, does the good outweigh the bad, right? So at least now you can make that logical comparison and that logical decision. So this is extremely important as part of your job search battle plan, folks. If you haven't done this, you got to make sure that you do this, right? I know it sounds kind of boring. I know it sounds kind of like like you're back in school or something like that. But I want you to literally, bullet point by bullet point, list out, what does your ideal situation look like, from the small things to the big things, to the big career related things, to the work life balance things, how it's going to affect your personal life, every single thing. Okay, I don't care how small and stupid it might seem. Doesn't matter. Put it on paper. Right? Everything needs to be put there on paper so you can get really clear about what the ideal opportunity looks like. And it's going to make it much more easier for you in your conversations with not just hiring managers, also with recruiters, when you're at your interviews, so you can determine whether it makes sense for you to pursue this opportunity. Okay, so that is tip number 3. Now, you got clear about that. You got clear about all of that stuff. Now what you want to do is you want to map out all the avenues to get to these opportunities that might be potentially dream opportunities for you that you want to consider, right? What are the avenues, folks, right? Are you going to apply directly? Are you going to attend networking events where these companies are going to be present? Are you going to be attending industry events where, this company is going to be present, talking about their new products and services and blah, blah, blah? And is the hiring team going to be there? Are you going to approach them directly? Are you going to approach the hiring managers directly on maybe LinkedIn? Hey, maybe you're really, really confident and courageous and you want to just pick up the phone, call the company and ask for the hiring manager directly. Hey, some of you out there might be doing that. I can't say, I'd say that's a great thing to do. That's something I have personally done in the past, but maybe for some of you, that's not gonna, it's just too nerve-wracking, right? So what else can you do? Well, are you gonna use LinkedIn to reach out to these people directly? Or maybe not just hiring managers. Don't forget the corporate in-house recruiters, right? There's going to be corporate in-house recruiters. There's going to be HR managers working at the organization that you want to work for. There's going to be staffing agencies as well. How are you going to connect with these individuals, and these companies, these organizations, these staffing agencies, internal recruiters? Like, you got to map out, what are all the avenues that I can approach this organization? How can I put myself in front of this organization, right? And the multiple organizations that you're interested in. You got these are the things you got to think about, folks, right? How do I get myself in front of the people that make the hiring decision? Write that down, by the way. This is pretty much the essence of any job search, folks. What can I do to get myself in front of the people that make the hiring decision or can influence the hiring decision? Boom, that's it. Right? So you got to examine, what are the avenues that you can do to do this. Maybe you got a strong social media presence. Maybe that's one of the ways that you can do. You want to post stuff, or you can leverage your social media presence to get the attention of these companies that you want to work for, right? Now you identify the avenues. The next thing you want to find out is, okay, are these companies even looking for someone with my skill set and my ability? Are they looking for someone with my abilities, my expertise, my experiences, my skill set, the projects I have under my belt? Are these organizations looking for someone such as myself, right? That's the other thing that you got to add into your research, right? Because you don't want to be wasting time pursuing companies that aren't even looking for someone or aren't even hiring right now, and you're putting so much work and effort into it. You want to put most of your effort on companies that are actively hiring right now if you're actively looking for work right now, right? So you got to do some research here. This is where the research aspects comes into place. So you got to identify these organizations, identify the avenues on how you can get yourself in front of them. Then you got to check out their careers page, check out their LinkedIn company page, check out if they have any job postings. Are they actively looking to hire right now? Are they looking for someone with my skills and my expertise, right? These are the things that you got to figure out. Now, that being said, just because a company has not posted an official job does not necessarily mean that they are not hiring, right? Because there are some situations where a company might not publicly post a job, right? First scenario that comes to mind is if they're looking to replace an existing employee, they might not publicly want that. They might not want that to be public information. They don't want that to be publicized, right? That they're looking to replace an employee. So that's just one example, right? But you still want to reach out. You still want to network. You still want to reach out because maybe they're not hiring right now, but maybe they have something in the works. Maybe they're waiting for budget to be approved, and maybe in a couple of weeks or maybe in a month or two, they're going to be hiring for someone with your skill set. Like who knows, right? So you still got to continue the networking aspect. Still put yourself out there, and again, identify those avenues on how you can get yourself in front of these organizations. Right, and there's so many ways you can do this, folks. And again, I want to also emphasize, and I'm not saying this simply because I'm an IT recruiter myself, and I work on the staffing agency side of things. But staffing agencies are such a great way for you to get yourself in front of these opportunities. All right, so you should be networking with staffing agency recruiters as well. If you're an IT professional here in Canada, that means me as well. Make sure if you're an IT professional, definitely want to network with you as well. So after this segment, or even right now, feel free to send me a direct message. And I love to get in communication with you. If I can't help you now, definitely see if I can help you at some point in the future, right? Because I should be one of your avenues to get yourself in front of these employers and organizations that you might potentially want to be working for, or at least interview and see what it's like, right? Because nothing ventured, nothing gained. If you don't have a conversation with the company, you don't interview with the company, you're not going to know if it's a good opportunity or not. You might actually find out, hey, this is actually not the ideal opportunity for me, right? So in any case, make sure you map out all the avenues that you can get yourself in front of these companies, right? And not just hiring managers, but also recruiters and others who might influence the hiring decision or be a part of the hiring decision as well. We got a couple of comments here. So we got some questions here. So I'm going to leave the questions for later. We got my friend Raphael Ford in the house. Hey, shout out to Raphael. Dean, glad to see you back. I need this content on Job Search Battle Plan. I have to come back and watch the replay. All right, sounds good, my friend. Good to see you here. Thanks so much for your comment, and hope you get value out of it when you watch the replay. That's the other thing, folks. If any of you folks, you can't watch this right now, feel free to check out the replay. The replay is usually up on LinkedIn, also on my YouTube and Twitter channels as well. And we got some questions there. All right, so keep the questions coming, folks. I'm going to get to the questions. I got 2 more points I want to cover, and then I'm going to get into the Q&A. All right, so I'll answer all of your questions. Now, tip number 5, I kind of already mentioned this, but you got to schedule your day hour by hour. Now, those of you who are unemployed, you have more time on your hands. No excuses here. You got to map out your day hour by hour. Now, as I mentioned, I had a sample schedule I released in my not this week's LinkedIn newsletter, but the one prior to that. Okay, the one prior to that, I actually listed out a sample calendar of how I would approach my job search if I was currently job searching. So check that out if you want an example of how you should be planning out your day. All right. So check that out. Again, it's in my LinkedIn articles, not this week's article, but the one prior to this week's article. It was on that one. All right. So make sure you check that out for an example of that. So you gotta make sure you're planning out your day, folks. What are you going to be doing at 9 a.m.? What are you going to be doing at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 p.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. Like you got to treat it like a job. It is a job. Job searching is like a job. Now, for those of you currently employed and looking for work, you might not have that same amount of time, right? So that's when you got to be figuring out, okay, what time period can I spend? Maybe after work, maybe on the weekends, where I can contribute some time to my job search. Maybe it's just 1 hour, maybe it's a couple of hours, because I know you have less time if you're currently employed. And maybe, on the weekends, you don't have as much time because you got some other things planned out. But still, regardless, even if it's a couple of hours, right, during the week, maybe you can spend 3-4 hours every week on your job search because you're currently employed. If that's the case, fine. But make it a solid, committed time frame, folks. Don't treat it like something that you're going to do just because you feel like it. Put it in your calendar, right? Make this dedicated job search time, right? You're not going to be distracted by anything else. Okay, you're going to tell anyone else, okay, look, I'm gonna talk to you, hang out with you, spend time with you. afterwards. But right now, for the next hour or next 2 hours, I'm completely 100% committed and focused on my job search, right? You got to commit to it, folks, right? Whether you have 8 hours a day or whether you only have like 3-4 hours a week, put it in your calendar, commit to it, make it solid, make it cemented, and stick to it. All right, you got to make sure you do that. All right, now tip number six. Tip number six. This is extreme. This is one of the most important points, and I'm kind of sad to talk about this because so many of you don't make this mistake. Okay, you start doing your job search, you start getting results, you start getting interviews, and you start interviewing with this company that you're really excited about, and you drop the ball on your entire job search strategy because you're like, oh, Dean, I'm interviewing with this great company, things are going great, we were laughing and joking at the last interview, they like me, I like them, I'm pretty 100% sure I'm going to get the job offer, so I don't need to job search anymore, I don't need to do any of the other stuff I've been doing, I'm going to cancel all my other interviews, I know I'm going to get this. You go in for the final interview and they're like, yeah, we decided to go with another candidate. It's just sad, folks. All right. Do not make this mistake. Folks, do not get arrogant. Do not get cocky just because you feel like everything's going great with this one company you've been interviewing with. That does not mean cancel all your other interviews. That does not mean drop the ball on your job search. Stop it, folks. Stop doing this. A lot of you folks are doing this. You're getting overconfident. You're thinking it's time to celebrate. And ultimately, you end up not getting this job. And now you're back to square one. And you drop the ball on everything else that you've been doing that is so good in your job search strategy. Stop doing that. Okay, you gotta keep and again, if you've been following me for a while, I feel like a broken record saying this, but you've heard me say this many times. It's not over until you're in the seat, working for the company, actually doing work for the company. Until then, until you reach that point, it is not over, folks. You need to continue your job search, keep job searching, keep interviewing, even if you're down to the offer negotiation stage with some company. I still want you to continue your job search. Another company at the same time requests an interview, accept the interview with that company as well. Until the contract is signed, the agreement is signed, you're working for the company, then you can go and say, okay, hey, look, I appreciate your time, but I actually accepted an offer. I'm working for this great company, made a final decision. I'm not actively interviewing anymore. That's when you cancel those other interviews. That's when you start letting recruiters know, hey, I'm not looking. I accepted something, working for this company. Appreciate all your help. Let's stay in touch for the future, blah, 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 whatever. That is the only point where you stop job searching and you let everyone know I'm no longer in the market. Boom, that's it. Do not stop your job search until you reach that point, until you're in the seat working for the company, right? Because even at the offer negotiation stage, who knows what might happen, folks, right? Who knows what might happen? Do not give your resignation in yet. Do not jump the gun. Do not jump the ball and give your resignation if nothing has even been signed, right? Now, obviously, some companies in order for you to, you do have to give your 2 weeks notice. So as long as the agreement is signed, first make sure the agreement is signed, the contract is signed, and then, give your 2 weeks notice and all that stuff. But look, the point is, do not drop the ball. Do not drop the ball. It's not over until you're in the seat working for the company. Until then, continue your job search. A quick story I wanted to share with you, and it's such a sad story, by the way, but it's a story one of my former managers told me, and they told me that they were representing a candidate, and they were interviewing with this company, and they loved this company. They were so excited about this company. They went in for, I think there was like 2 or 3 interviews. They went in for the final interview, and they were so confident. They're like, "Oh, I love this company, love this organization," and they were so excited. And it makes me so sad to even say this. They were so excited about this company that, without listening to my manager, who insisted they not do this, they went ahead and gave their resignation to their current company, right? Because they were so confident. They were so confident and sure that they were going to get the job offer with this company. And even before the company even provided any feedback, they quit their job. Not only they quit, they organized like this barbecue, invited all their friends over to celebrate and family and stuff like this. It's so sad, by the way. And they're like, yeah, they're already celebrating and stuff like that. And guess what the feedback was from my manager's client? My manager's client came back to me and was like, yeah, we're going to pass on this candidate. It's a damn shame, folks, right? That was like, my manager was like heartbroken, like, for this candidate. But at the same time, like, they went ahead and they did not listen to what my manager was advising them, right? And it's just, I know this is an extreme example. I'm sure most of you out there would not do something like crazy like this. But it's a perfect example of why you should not get overconfident or cocky and think that you got it in the bag and all that stuff. Don't do that, folks. All right. Nothing is over until you're in the seat working for the company. So tip number 6 is keep the job search going. Don't hit the brakes. Do not hit the brakes. Keep job searching, keep interviewing until you're in the seat working for the company. All right. So that's my final tip for today. And look, if you folks found today's segment helpful, make sure you hit like, make sure you comment your feedback as well. Make sure you share with anyone in your network that might benefit from today's segment. And appreciate everyone who has hit like already and has reshared this with their network as well. So that being said, I'm going to get to the comments right now. I know some of you had some questions, so I'm going to get into your questions right now. If you have any questions from your end as well, feel free to start dropping those in the comments, and I'm going to respond to all of your questions as well. By the way, quick reminder, remember, if you enjoyed this session, make sure you tune in next week, Wednesday as well. I do this every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. All right. So make sure you tune back in every week. So look, let's see here. We got some questions here. Okay. So Bikash says, how is the recruitment business in Canada after COVID? Well, at least in the IT sector, Bikash, it's been really great. I mean, so far it's been really great. The tech sector definitely experienced a boom as a lot of organizations move to remote work, a lot of tech projects, a lot of opportunities in recruitment for sure. Although right now we are kind of seeing, I'm not trying to spread negativity or bad news or anything. We are kind of seeing some signs of a market correction. All right, we're hearing about obviously layoffs and things like that, but overall, I'd say things are still very positive. I mean, definitely, there's a high demand for recruiters. Definitely a high demand for because there's a high demand for talented people. Right, companies need to find these talented individuals for their companies, and because of that, they need recruiters in order to find those people. So overall, I'd say right now it's still going pretty good, Bikash. Right, so thanks so much for your question. We got Mohammed. Mohammed says, so shout out to Mohammed. Thanks for tuning in, Mohammed. Mohammed says, quick question for you. Is it easy to land a field job after 4 years? Thanks in advance. So I'm not sure exactly. I'm assuming, Mohammed, what you're saying is you've been off the market and not working for 4 years. Is it easy to land a job after not being in the market for 4 years? Okay, so to be very frank with you, and by the way, folks, I don't sugarcoat things, all right? So to be very frank with you, Mohammed, no, it's probably not going to be easy, right? Because if you have not been working for the past 4 years, understand that you're competing for jobs with other individuals who have current and recent work experience. Now, I'm not sure what your field is, Mohammed. Maybe you're in IT, or maybe you're not in IT. If you're in IT, especially IT, there's always new trends, new technologies, new certifications, and things change. I think they say, that saying, right? I think things advance in technology every 6 months or something like that. So if you haven't been keeping in touch with your skill set, with your field, if you haven't been consistently upgrading yourself, or maybe while you've been away for the 4 years, you haven't been working and building out your own, maybe side or hobby projects related to your field, you'll definitely be faced with challenges, right? So this is where, Mohammed, I would advise you to look into certifications in your field, look into how you can upgrade your skill set, look into how you can get current, look into maybe building out your own projects that you can work on, and show that you still have the ability to do what you can do in your field, right? If that's possible in your field. Like your major challenges, you got to show employers that you're still current, that yes, maybe you haven't been working in the field for the past 4 years, but you're not rusty. You still have the ability, you still have the skills, you still have the knowledge, you still have the ability. You've been taking certifications, you've been upgrading your skills, you've been working on some of your own side projects that you can show them. Like, you want to show them that your ramp up time is not going to be too significant. Now, obviously, you've been away from the field for 4 years. Yeah, you might need some ramp up, some kind of a ramp up period, but you want to show them it's not going to be significant. It's not going to be something drastic. You want to show that you're going to be able to hop on board as soon as possible, and brush up on things, and get up to speed on things ASAP. That's going to be your challenge, and that's going to be how you approach that challenge as well. Hope that helps, Mohammed. Thanks so much for your question. All the best to you, my friend. We got Naveen. So shout out to Naveen. Thanks so much for tuning in, Naveen. Naveen says, "Hey Dean, 8 years experience in IT as a software developer, now studying project management. What should be the strategy for my job search?" So okay, so hopefully the tips that I shared so far might have helped you, Naveen. But just based on what you've told me, look, you've got 8 years of experience as a software developer. So I would say, Naveen, your greatest leverage right now would be, if you're transitioning into project management, your greatest leverage would be, I'd say, two things. First of all, your involvement overall period in software projects, right? Obviously, you have that knowledge. You definitely want to be involved in that. And second thing you want to leverage is you have that technical knowledge and expertise as a software developer. So this makes you a pretty attractive project manager. Like, I'm just thinking as a recruiter right now, this would make you a very attractive potential project manager, because you can talk shop with the developers, right? Like you're not just you're not a project manager who has zero knowledge of software development, or who has never done software development projects or anything like that, right? Like you have personally been involved in software development projects. You know what you maybe have a good overall sense of what's going on, certain challenges you can anticipate, how to overcome those challenges. Like these are things, all those things that you sorry, excuse me, all those things that you have experienced as a software developer, Naveen. I want you to take out a sheet of paper and find and figure out, hey, what are these things that I've experienced as a software developer, or my knowledge as a software developer, my expertise as a software developer. What of these things can I use as leverage into a project management role? Right? Like you want to leverage those things that you can take on into a project management role, Naveen. That's what you want to focus on. That's what you want to highlight as part of your job search strategy, right? As well as on your resume as well. And the other thing I wanted to mention, Naveen, is I mean, your best entryway into the project management field would probably be like, software related projects. Like this would be the most logical, I think, first step you should take into to making that advance into the project management field. Like look for project management roles that are in the software industry, SaaS projects, software projects, anything related to software applications, et cetera, right? Because that's where they would see you as a great asset, because you're not just uh, just another project manager. Like you're someone who has worked as a software developer for 8 years. You have strong knowledge of that field, and you'd better be able to communicate with the software developers on these software projects as well, right? So I'm thinking that that's probably the best route for you to take, Naveen. All right, so hope that helps. And by the way, Naveen, if you're in, I'm not sure if you're in Canada or if you're in Toronto, definitely want to see if I can connect with you, and see if I can help you out with any opportunities, if not right now, maybe at some point in the future, right? So make sure you send me a direct message after this session. Definitely want to see if there's any way I can assist you, if not now or in the near future. So thanks for that, Naveen. Hope that helps. We got Mohammed. Yeah, Mohammed, I already read your comments, so appreciate your support, Mohammed. Thanks for tuning in. Tarun says always informative. Appreciate that, Tarun. So we got okay. Naveen says hello, Dean. Any tips for college graduates and co-op options? So Naveen, so for so Naveen, I'm pretty sure, Naveen, you said that you have 8 years of experience as a software developer, but maybe you're just asking for college graduates out there. So look, college graduates out there, look, the mistake I see so many college graduates and new grads make is you folks keep emphasizing, oh, I don't have experience, I'm a new college graduate, I'm a fresher, I'm a new graduate, I don't have any experience. But that's not the right attitude to have, right? If you're a college graduate, if you're a new graduate, or maybe you're entering a new field, you want to leverage your academic experience, right? Those projects you did, maybe you did a certification, and that certification, part of that certification was you had to do certain projects, actual practical hands-on work. Like you want to leverage that stuff, right? And if you're a college graduate or a university graduate, talk about the projects you did in school, talk about all that stuff you did in school or college or whatever it is, and maybe even showcase those as part of your portfolio, and be like, hey, look, this is what I'm capable of, this is a sample of my work. Like you got to leverage what you do have, folks, right? So this is the mistake I see so many college people, new graduates make, is they're not leveraging their academic experiences, right? The projects they worked on, assignments they did. Like if it showcases your ability to do the job, then you got to use it, you got to leverage it, right? The biggest concern employers have about new graduates is not the fact that you're a new graduate, but the fact is your everything you learn in college and school and university, or that certification you took, is it purely academic? Like is your knowledge purely academic, or can you actually apply what you've learned? That is the key thing that they're trying to figure out. So you got to show them that you don't just have academic knowledge, but you have practical ability. You can actually practically apply what you've learned. So Naveen, hope that helps. Let's see here. We got Sujit in the house. Shout out to Sujit. Thanks so much for tuning in. So Sujit's question is it a good idea to start applying for relevant jobs when you're in the middle of a part-time master's program, or just wait till we finish the program? Is it seen negatively by employers? Well, Sujit, that depends on the role, right? I mean, if it's a full-time role and you're currently, you're in a part-time master's program, I mean, if you can still work full-time work hours, then yeah, it will make sense to apply. But if this is this part-time master's program, if it's time consuming, like it takes up half of your day every day, and you can't commit to a full-time job, then maybe it might not make sense for you to apply, right? Because the employers, at least here in Canada, and I'm not sure if you're in Canada or Toronto, Sujit, but here in Toronto and just overall in Canada, usually when employers are when employers are advertising jobs, they want someone who can start as soon as possible, right? So if your master's program is going on for a couple of months or something like that, like they're not going to wait a couple of months until you can join. Like they want someone to join ASAP, right? So in that case, it might not make sense for you to apply for the job. Now, in the case of, hey, maybe you're networking with potential hiring managers or recruiters, they're like, hey, Sujit, we got something that's coming up, a couple of months down the road, and by then you're going to be done with your master's program. Then yeah, maybe it might make sense. So I guess it depends on the situation, Sujit. So hope that helps, and thanks so much for your question. But yeah, again, depends on the situation, right? Like it's got to make sense for the employer to be interviewing you. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be like a waste of their time because suddenly they're at the offer stage. They're like, okay, yeah, we want you to start 2 weeks from now, and you're like, oh, well, I can't really leave my part-time master's program. Well, I mean, you just wasted your time and you wasted their time as well, right? So it depends. You got to kind of see the situation. Hope that helps, Sujit. Thanks so much for your question. And let's see here. So we got Siddhant, I think. Siddhant. So shout out to Siddhant. Thanks so much for tuning in, Siddhant, and thanks for your question. Siddhant says, is it possible to apply for remote IT jobs, data scientist or analyst in the USA while in Canada? Yeah, like Siddhant, again, I would say it depends on the company. Like I do hear about a lot of some companies, well, I'd say many companies in the US that are open to hiring people remotely from Canada. So I would say there's no issue with that. I'm not sure if there's any, like I personally have not recruited for companies in the US that were looking for people in Canada, um, in that kind of a scenario. So I'm not sure if there's any kind of paperwork that needs to be done, or if you need a specific US kind of work visa and stuff like that. I'm not sure about that, but other than that, I don't see any issue with it because I do see companies in the US that are looking to hire people who are looking to work remotely from Canada. So I don't see any issue with that. But maybe look into it and research if there's any specific paperwork or work status required. But outside of that, I don't see any issue with it, right? As long as their company's open to it, hey, might as well go for it. So hope that helps, Siddhant. Raphael says, is there a certain resume format that works well for the recruiter's resume reader? Yeah, so Raphael, I mean, in terms of the resume, what I would, and this is probably more specific to people in IT, but look, for IT, I would avoid the fancy looking resumes. All right, so some of you are using these fancy resume formats from Canva or Microsoft Word with these fancy, nice, pretty looking templates and stuff like that, and that might not be practical. It might look good, but it's not practical, right? So the general rule with resumes, especially in IT, is the more boring looking it is, the better, right? That boring. When I say boring, I mean that standard format: name at the top, contact information below that, professional summary below that, summary of skills below that, professional experience below that, and then listing the company name, the dates you were working there, company description, blah blah blah. I mean, that's the ideal format because that is ATS friendly. That is more practical. That is more easily readable for the recruiter as well, because they're so used to reading resumes in that format. I'd say just keep it like that, Raphael. Right. So hope that helps, Raphael, and hope that that makes sense for you. Amin says, I couldn't find article for planning our day in previous week's article. Could you send the link? Okay, yeah. So let me see if I can actually find that link. And what I'll do is afterwards, Amin, I'll post it in the comments for this stream. All right, I'll post it in the comments for the stream on LinkedIn as well as YouTube and Twitter, in case those of you on YouTube and Twitter want that as well. So I'll look up the article. So after the stream is finished, give me like a couple of, maybe give me an hour or something like that, or as soon as possible. I'll find the article and I'll post a link in the comments afterwards. All right. So hope that helps you, Amin. Thanks for your comment and thanks for watching. We got Akanksha. So shout out to Akanksha. Akanksha says, hi, Dean. Any tips for project management profile? I'm studying for PMP. Companies use project manager and program manager roles interchangeably. Like you mentioned, it's difficult for each organization. And I think there's a second part to your question. I'm into operations and product strategy, not software development. Okay, so I'm not sure I understand what exactly you're asking here, Akankshu. Any tips for project management profile? Well, I mean, Akankshu, like I'm not sure what you're asking here, but I'm assuming you're asking like how can you make yourself your profile more desirable for employers. Well, I would say, again, the kind of the advice I have is pretty consistent with what I've been talking about so far, folks. Like, you want to leverage whatever you do have, existing experience, past experiences, types of projects you've done, types of industries you worked at, whatever you have that is transferable to this new industry you're looking to get into. You want to leverage that. You want to leverage what you have that is transferable into this new area you're looking into. So make sure that's what you're doing, right? So, or maybe Akanksha, maybe you can clarify what exactly you were asking, so I better understand your question. So Philip says, could you, Philip? So shout out to Philip. Thanks for tuning in. Philip says, could you briefly talk about the resume screening software? I sent my resume some time ago for opportunities in data analytics. I will send a DM again. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what exactly you want me to talk about, Philip, regarding this resume screening software. But the ATS, I mean, it's basically an ATS. It's almost like a CRM software, right? It's a software that recruiters use for storing resumes. It's a database. People can apply for jobs, and some of the jobs, they automatically revert into these ATS platforms. Or maybe you email or send your resume to a recruiter. They can download and save it into the ATS. And what transpires in the ATS, I mean, whether or not your resume gets found on the ATS, Philip, it depends on whether or not the keywords the recruiter enters when they're searching for resumes are keywords that are reflected on your resume. And you can't really predict that, because one recruiter might use a different set of keywords from another recruiter, right? So my advice that I usually give in regards to the ATS is, you don't want to depend on trying to beat this ATS and trying to figure out the ATS, because ultimately it comes down to what keywords the recruiter uses, and you can't really predict that. So aside from applying for jobs and getting your resume downloaded or getting it on some ATS, aside from that, you got to make sure that you're making direct contact with recruiters and as well as hiring managers, because again, the ATS has hundreds, if not thousands, hundreds of thousands of other resumes. And even if your resume shows up in the search results, I mean, your resume is going to be one of maybe, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, who knows, hundreds of other resumes that show up in the search results. And there's no way to guarantee that you're going to end up in the top of those results, right? So depending on figuring out the ATS, depending on this whole ATS thing, it's not the best way to deal with this. Like, you definitely want to still apply for jobs. You definitely want to still send out your resume, but you want to look at what other avenues you can use to get yourself in front of recruiters and hiring managers and get the attention of recruiters and hiring managers. And one of the best ways to do that is, making use of direct messages, as well as making use of sending out emails as well to introduce yourself. But you got to make sure it's a message and an email that grabs attention, that appeals to the recruiter or the hiring manager, and makes them want to respond to you, get in communication with you, and maybe schedule something further. Now, for more information about that, I actually have a digital course I created where I actually teach that strategy. It'll probably take you around 3 hours to complete the course. I'm selling it right now for $119 Canadian. That's taxes included. So if you want more information about that course, feel free to send me a direct message. I'm happy to provide you with more information on how you can get on that course, where I teach you. Again, you got to set aside maybe 3 hours of your time, where I teach you inside and out how to formulate a great strategy where you can stand out. All right. Matthew Hill said, the idea of the IT resume is to show your skills and experience match the job. Matthew, exactly. You kind of hit the nail right on the head, if that's the phrase. I think that's the phrase. But yeah, shout out to Matthew right there. That's what it comes down to, folks, right? Like, your resume has to show that you have the skills and experience which match the job. So you got to make sure that you're customizing your resume for the job that you're applying for, right? If you have a one-size-fits-all resume, that might fall flat. That might not get the attention of recruiters and hiring managers. So you got to make sure that your resume especially reflects the requirements for the role, right? Because that's what it comes down to. That's what's going to grab the attention of recruiters as well as hiring managers. So Matthew, shout out to Matthew for pointing that out. That is extremely important. You got to make sure that your skills and experience match the job that you're applying for. So thanks so much, Matthew. Fantastic point there. So that's it, folks. That looks like that's it for me today. It looks like there's no other questions and comments. It is lunchtime for me, so I'm going to go get my lunch. So everyone, make sure you hit like, make sure you share this segment with anyone in your network who might benefit from today's segment. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and make sure you follow me on all my other social channels. All my social links are right here at linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter, linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. And make sure you mark your calendars, folks. Every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, I'm right here to help you folks out with your job search. And if there's any particular topics you want me to cover for next week, feel free to share in the comments. All right. Everyone, have a fantastic remainder of the week. Have a fantastic day. Keep pushing through. Don't give up. And I'll see you around next time, folks. Take care. And I'll see, I already said see you around next time, but I'll see you around soon. All right. Take care. Bye.